live.
Hello,
Hello. Welcome to
welcome
Philosophizing.
to Philosophizing. Yep, the show where we philosophize about science or squids, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like
Yeah,
today's mostly we're just going to be gushing about some of our favorite
like
animals.
I just yeah, I like how the planning process for this streams work because we're okay, our next two topics are dating and relationships and squids. I was literally talking about I was talking to Ruby earlier, and I was like, "So this week, do you want to do dating or do you want us to do squids?" Um, and we
Squids
decided,
won.
yeah, we decided on squids this week and then dating next week.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then
Um,
proceeded to just find a lot of random facts about squids. And then we're just going to try
and
and
also cuttlefish and
and cuttlefish
octopuses
and
and
octopus. And then we'll just tell each other about them, I guess. And then
yeah,
we'll be
yeah,
even more excited about this particular mollusk. Okay, well,
yeah. So I
anyway,
was
no,
gonna
no,
say,
no. We
so the
actually said
origin. Oh,
cephalopods.
cephalopods, yeah. I
Yes.
mean, I think the origin of this stream was actually I was doing a memory study a couple of years ago, and we had to have stuff for people to learn so that we could test their memory on it. So we made them watch this documentary about cuttlefish, and so I saw this documentary 120 times. But I was like, okay, these cuttlefish are pretty cool, and I started looking up a bunch of facts about them, and then I was like, let's do a stream about cephalopods.
Do cephalopods have really good memory?
So to be clear, in this case, we just needed something for the people to watch.
Oh, okay.
Our human subjects were watching the documentary, and then we test their memory for the stuff that they saw in the documentary. But also, I mean, at least cuttlefish do. Um, cuttlefish seem to have memory around as good as rodents in terms of spatial locations and such.
Oh, wow. That's actually really cool. Um,
Mhm,
wait. Before we delve into it, because I feel like we just
sure.
dropped the word cephalopod and we didn't tell people
Hmm.
what we mean by that. So we're talking about this mollusk class called
Right.
cephalopods,
I
and it was
mean, and I think for most people, this is squids, octopi, and cuttlefish are going to be the ones that people know, right?
pretty much, yeah. And then
Uh-huh.
briefly, they most of them have eight or more tentacles. So I think octopus obviously have eight tentacles. A lot of squids and cuttlefish will have 10, te- um, eight legs and two other tentacles.
Uh-huh.
And the distinguishing portions of them. So the cuttlefish has a cuttle bone, which is actually super interesting, and we'll go into it in a bit. The squids will have a pen, and I think the hardest part of the octopus, I think they have beaks, like a
Uh-huh.
beak, a
Wait,
single
and
beak.
what is the squid pen? Is it a writing instrument, or is it like they all carry around a pen?
No, so it's kind of like the cuttlebone. I had trouble figuring out exactly
Okay.
what the difference between the
Mhm.
cuttlebone. So it's really similar to a cuttlebone, but it's just like a feather shaped hard disc. It's like their internal. I don't want to say skeleton because it's just like one piece of thing.
Mhm.
But it's like longer shaped and it's kind of looks like a feathered pen. Um,
Hmm. Mhm.
Yeah, and I think it's made of a different material. And the reasons
Yeah.
the way these animals are broken apart, phylogenetically, is by like evolution, like how close their neighbors are, their ancestors are. So they are actually separated by, um, I lots of years of evolution. So
Uh-huh.
they have separately evolved. I think the equivalent of a pen and the cuttle bone and the
Yeah.
beak. Like
I
they're all
actually
yeah.
I This is one of the things that I learned about in the cuttlefish documentary, actually, which was that the reason that they have the pen and the cuttlebone is the most common mollusks that live on land are things like snails that have shells. And what
Yeah.
happened was that basically the genes that cause the shell to be on the outside of the animal just kind of got mutated. So it is actually an internal shell, and it's made out of usually materials that are pretty similar to like what a snail shell is made out of.
Yeah. I think the cuttle bone is 95% aragonite, and it's
Hmm.
super porous, and they use it for like buoyancy. Oh yeah, and that's the other
Hmm.
distinguishing feature of this class. Cephalopods, for the most part, mainly are in water. Like they can technically be on not water, they can come out of water for a little bit, but like
Hmm.
they are specialized mollusks of the sea. And they have symmetry. Like they tend to be like bilateral symmetry. Like the if you can like draw a line down the center and it goes like it's symmetrical. Um
Hmm.
I think that's like their defining features. Like there's like 800s. I want to say like over 800 species of cephalopods. Um
Oh wow.
yeah,
Do they
like
all fall into like the categories of like octopuses, squids, cuttlefish, or are there like other things?
and nautilus, which is
Oh,
a
nautilus.
version, yeah, and a version where the shells on the outside.
Hmm.
So that's basically it. Um,
Hmm.
like those are the categories of them. They have more scientific names. You can look up a phylogeny tree. Actually, let me pull one up real quick, just to make sure I'm not like
Do people
missing one.
eat nautiluses?
I think they do. You really shouldn't because they are actually quite endangered.
Oh, uh-huh.
Cephalopod tree. Here we go. Let's make sure I'm not like lying and telling you I'm missing a huge populate a group of them. So Nautilia is the one with the
Mhm.
nautilusks in them. Then there's um cuttlefish, ram's horn squid, deep sea squid, pygmy squids, bobtail squid, open-eyed squid, crown-tailed squid. So like that's one class that is the clo oh wow, okay, clolo ideas. And also in the separate one is the octiforms, which include the vampire squid, which vampire squid, the filmed octopus, and then like your octopods, which is like are they're big octopuses. Let's see if I
Mhm.
can find um I think ResearchGate. I'm just finding a nice graphic so we can share it.
Of the squid, the or the cephalopod phylogeny.
Yeah, here. I'm gonna just drop that in I guess the chat.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh no. Okay. Um
Can
is
you
it
not
letting
post it?
Yeah, it's not letting me post. Give me a sec.
Oh, weird. Let's see. Maybe.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I can drop it in the chat.
Okay. So I'll just forward it to you. But
Mhm.
yeah, anyway, so they're kind of like grouped like this. And like you can kind of see the age of the grouping too. Like how many like years ago like separation. Which is kind of nice.
Yeah. Huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like
It's
it separates them for you and like you're in your mind. Like and I was just like which one is calamari? Which one is edible? Uh
are like are they so are all cephalopods edible?
uh
Because I know people eat octopus, squid, cuttlefish, and you said they eat nautiluses. So there's none that are like poisonous to humans.
ooh, I didn't think about the poison part. I never looked that up, but I do think you can
Yeah.
eat most of them. And then they're an important component of our diet. And even if it's not immediately our diet, it's an important component of many animals' diet that we do eat.
Hmm.
Are there let
Are
me
there
see if
cephalopods
yeah,
we can't eat?
um cephalopods. I mean, now that I think about it, mollusks do have like a pretty like other kinds of mollusks have pretty harmful things like that could do like conotoxins and shit are pretty bad. So I'm like,
Hmm.
why would this entire group of mollusks not have? Cephalopods can be both venomous and poisonous. Great, thank you, internet.
Oh, uh-huh.
There the flesh of the flamboyant cuttlefish is poisonous and
Hmm.
can cause illness and death if ingested. Great.
Hmm.
Um, Apparently all octopuses are venomous.
Oh
Because
wow.
they
Oh,
because
they're
they
venomous. Yeah.
yeah because they use it to like like I was gonna say sting, but
Hmm.
they use it to like
Like to catch
subdue.
their prey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and also some cuttlefish have venomous
Hmm.
qualities. I was gonna say, my fun topic today has to do with a symbiotic relationship between squid and bacteria, and I'm pretty sure
Hmm.
there are some pretty nasty bacteria out there that probably wouldn't hurt,
That
wouldn't
like
hurt.
inhabit the squid. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have this beak that people don't really talk about that much, but this beak can like puncture pretty much a lot of things. Like,
Yeah, actually, so actually today, for some reason on TikTok, I was watching a bunch of videos of people trying to catch squids, but then the squids just like kept biting them.
yeah.
Um,
And I
yeah.
think they also, I would say they like puncture each other too. There's some species of
Hmm.
squids which like reproduce by just like injecting their sperm into a random body part of another squid
Oh wow.
and
Hmm.
just hope like it gets the right place. And
Hmm.
they just puncture them, which is not that different from other mollusks. We should do like an episode on land mollusks as well, because
That would be fun. Yeah,
yeah,
just like welcome to Mollusk Month.
yeah. But
Oh
anyway,
yeah,
back
it's
to the
snail month.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, back to yeah. Well, this is the thing. Like, we don't think of. I don't know. Before I took zoology in college, I didn't like when you say a mollusk. I think snails, right? Like,
Right.
I don't think of octopuses as
You don't think of
mollusks.
an octopus. Yeah.
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
actually all their tentacles is actually just like a modified giant foot. That actually is
Hmm.
what it is. Which I guess I was like, wow, okay, cool. There is many ways to be. And the cool thing about mollusks all in general is that they separated from humans a really really long time ago, and like any of like the perceived intelligence or actual intelligence they have basically co-evolved separately. Like they completely went for a
It's
different
like
track.
convergent evolution. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a way to build a brain that is completely different than ours, which makes it super satisfying to study, and why we're like, oh my god, they're aliens. They just went for a different strategy. Like instead of like one centralized brain, they have like a plexus, like basically a bunch of
Hmm.
strings of ganglia, and like a lot
Huh.
of their tentacles have like basically chain ganglia that like innervate each one of the suckers and that can like taste and do like their own like movement things. Like they can like pass like an object from one sucker to another sucker all the way up the arm until it gets to the mouth part, and then like decide to eat it or not. And like that arm can do that even if it's like cut off. Like you could like remove a
Wow.
tentacle and it could like taste things. It will pass the food up the arm to the center where the body, even if it's no longer there, it'll still like it just on its own will do its own thing. And it's like I wouldn't say sentient, but it just has a
Hmm.
lot more local brains out there than you would think.
It's like a more distributed like nervous
Yeah,
system, it sounds like. Yeah.
yeah, model. And
Uh-huh.
their entire gut goes through their brain because it's a mollusk. Like and it's a ring, it's like a ring of neurons, like imagine like sacks of neurons, and then they're connected with each other, and then just have their entire gut tube go through the center. So like in order to like consume food, they put it through their whole mouth hole, and it'll like go through their brain. Like it'll go through the donut of their brain to get into the rest of their body for digestion, because that's just how they were built.
It's
I
just
think that's
yeah.
kind of cool.
I read also that apparently like there is like they do need to be like they can only eat food in very small chunks because otherwise it could cause damage to their brain.
Oh, like if it's too
Uh,
large, it might accidentally
yeah.
like
Although I
break
don't
part of their brain.
kind of like give them a concussion basically. When you're like although I'm not sure if I believe that because they can contort their bodies so much. So I imagine their brains must be like very resilient to that kind of stretching actually.
Yeah. So the stretchiness and I guess like stretchable and flexibility of them depends on how much of the hard parts they have. And I think because of
Hmm.
that, the octopuses are the most flexible, stretchy. compressible
Because they have
because
no internal hard part.
yeah,
Yeah.
they just have the beak, and then the cuttlefish
Hmm.
have like the cuttle bone. So like you can imagine the smallest shape they could fold around would need to go around this bone that
Their
they're
knuckle bone.
toting
Yeah.
around. And same with the squid, they're like keeping this a pen around. So like that's what's you know keeping their shape and size. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so cool. I There's so many cool facts. I feel like we're just gonna throw random facts in
Yeah.
for the next 30 minutes.
You were gonna talk about bacteria, right?
Oh yeah, okay. So I went into the deep end and I read a lot about the squid called the bobtail squid, or
Hmm.
Eurymia scoliopius, and they have a mutual relationship with a bacteria called V. fischeri. And the cool part about this is that no, sorry, not octopus. These squids basically do cell culturing. So for those of you who work in science, or like work with culture, and don't know what working is like cell culturing is like you basically grow cells in dishes and you like feed it food, and then like you pick the cells that are nice and you keep those and you like grow more of those, um, and then you do experiments on them. So these squids do that with with this bacterium in cells, and they have to keep it as a live culture like throughout its entire life.
Hmm.
And it is the source of their light organ, which is bioluminescent. So this bacteria is bioluminescent, but if they don't constantly feed the bacterium, it's kind of like a sourdough. Like you have to like
Hmm. Like a
discard
sourdough
like
starter.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you have to discard a portion of it every day, and then like let like feed it things so it grows more. And then like every day
And
you must discard, and if you don't do that it'll like die on you. So like every morning, so bioluminescence like in the dark waters is really bright, and like it could cause predators to come and eat you. And so they expel their discard at a specific time of the day in the morning,
oh
where
wow.
the lighting
Uh-huh.
of the sun, like it's like early morning when the sun's about to come up, and like the lighting from their discard won't like
Won't be
accidentally give
helpful.
away their
Yeah.
location. Yeah. So they every morning they will like all simultaneously discard a bunch of this bacterium. And then this bacterium like so when they're so we know this is it's a symbiotic relationship or a mutualistic relationship at least, because the baby squids are born without the light organ. I mean they have the light organ, but like it's not
Mm-hmm. But
luminescent.
it doesn't glow. Yeah.
Yeah, and like as the squid gets older, it gets brighter and brighter. So they're like selectively growing brighter and brighter bioluminescent um
Oh wow.
bacteria
Uh-huh.
in their organs.
And so
Yeah.
how does this light organ work? Like, is it like the bacteria are growing on like the squid skin, or is it like integrated into an organ, or are they like inside the cells? Or
So it's actually inside it's inside a component. So it's just called a light organ. But so you know how
Mhm.
actually I put a picture in the in
Oh
our
cool. Yeah, I'll pull
Google.
it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you just pull it up. So there's like this it's inside the body, in next to the sac that holds the ink. They have like
Hmm.
it's like in the ink sac, so it's like all dark and black. They have this like reflector inside, and then you have the bioluminescent like I guess like sac of bacteria, and then there's like a lens that goes underneath it. So oh yeah, okay, so in this figure it's the black thing in the center with the white
So
knobs on
this
it.
thing there.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
light organ appears as the black and white kidney-shaped lobes overlaying the yellow digestive gland. So on the right, you can see it. Like this
Hmm.
is a
Yeah. Yeah.
dissected bob-tailed squid. And then if you scroll down to the next figure, in figure two, they have this is the ink sac. Like you can
Hmm.
see on the left, that is like the actual ink sac. On the right is like a drawing of like which part is the ink sac, which is I thought it was the black part, and then the
Hmm.
reflector is the white sliver, and
Hmm.
then the luminescent part is in the center. So it's kind of like
And so this
protecting.
BCP is like the mass of bacteria.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And it's kind of cool because like by wrapping it around the ink, it keeps it dark. Like you
Oh
can
yeah.
like
True.
luminesce when you want to luminesce, and like you just squirt out some of it. And then you can like not luminesce when you want to hide. So there's like a
Hmm.
way, so you're not just like constantly like a beacon of light, just like blinking around in the
Glowing.
ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah, be like, come eat me. They can just like
Yep.
luminesce when they need to.
Yeah.
Um,
And they can push out this ball of bacteria when they don't want it anymore.
Correct. And this bacteria
Yeah.
doesn't like the amount of bacteria that's in the water, it cannot perpetuate itself. Like that bacteria cannot reproduce
Hmm.
without being inside the sac. And so you just need to inoculate like baby squids for a little bit, and they will pick up this like some of this bacteria, and then they'll grow it and they'll get bioluminescent after a couple of generations. It's very
It's
cool.
crazy that like that is the mechanism it evolved. Like it didn't just evolve to be able to produce like glowing enzymes in its cell. It like evolved this completely other mechanism for like selectively harboring these bacteria that happen to glow.
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, I just think it's cool that they have to constantly take care of it, right? Like it's
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
keeping your sack of starter around with you, and like if
hmm,
you don't take care of it, like it'll just cease
that makes
being.
sense because then if
Yeah.
the squid doesn't want to be glowing anymore, it can just get rid of it. Also, Revive described this as the morning poo.
the morning, the morning fluorescent poo.
Uh-huh. Which I guess it kind of is.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. They call it a
yeah.
morning expulsion.
Yeah.
um,
Oh, um, I
yeah.
think
What?
speaking of, so the thing that I was looking at, which I think is kind of related, is so I was looking at how cephalopods can change their color and texture. So it turns out like most squid can do this. Cuttlefish are the best at it. Like they can actually change their color, right? And
Yeah.
so I think one of the cool thing about this is that they say, let me pull it up actually.
I was gonna say the coolest part about this is that technically, according to like mammalian standards, they're colorblind because they don't actually have different shaped
Oh,
cones. Like,
really? Uh-huh.
yeah, like they don't have different cones to like see different wavelengths. Like for like humans, we have three
Hmm.
cones, and like with like short, long, and extra long like wavelength
Hmm.
tuned
Like the
cones,
different
basically.
color wavelengths. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So they don't have that. They,
Hmm.
for all intents and purposes, they're
Hmm.
colorblind.
Yeah.
I don't think they actually are. So they actually go for a different kind of vision. They can see polarized light, so they can kind of see like
Hmm.
the direction photons are coming from. So
Hmm.
kind of like those sheet protectors that go in front of your laptop screen so that people behind you can't read it. It's like that, but like, imagine being able to just visualize that and they'll perceive it
Yeah.
as a
It's
different
basically like,
direction.
okay, the light waves going like that as they travel out, or are they going like that as they travel out? Is what the
Yeah.
polarization is.
and
Um,
and the photoreceptors on the back of their retina are organized in a way to recognize orientation, so they're really good at seeing up, down, and left and right, so they can really see things that are
so,
oriented this way, and less so like diagonal. I know that sounds
oh,
strange.
interesting.
Yeah,
Huh.
and it's because their retinas are literally patterned like kind of like a grid, like they have alternating horizontal and vertical orientations, which allows them to like see the polarized light coming from all the different
Oh,
angles.
wow.
And it makes
So
sense
unlike,
because they're in water, right? They're
so
like, yeah,
yeah. So it's like unlike ours, where it's like we have this kind of circle surround thing, where it's like you kind of we're trying to see like our eyes, I guess, are detecting like okay, like our eyes pick out a point and they just say this point is different from the stuff around it, but kind of this their eyes are looking more at like is there something directly above, directly below, to the left or to the right of this
correct.
that makes it stand out.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind
Yeah.
of makes
So
sense
actually,
because up and down is
yeah.
like predators, and then like this way is like food. And those are the things that
Yeah,
matter to
and I
them.
guess there's, I mean, it's interesting. I guess that implies there aren't that many things in the ocean that like swim diagonally. Like,
Huh. Wait, I wonder what their depth perception is actually now that I think about it. Like, what if it comes straight at you?
Yeah.
I
I mean,
guess
I feel like
straight at you is
yeah,
just like a looming, right? Like it'll
it
get
looks
bigger
like
and
it's getting bigger, so I feel like
yeah.
they would get that. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so I think like so I just linked this article and I'll pull it up on here too, but I think this is a really I thought this was a really good overview of like so squid and cuttlefish especially will change their skin coloration. Part of it seems to be for camouflage, but part of it also seems to be for communication. So, for example, like cuttlefish hunt other fish, and it seems like one of the things they try to do when they're doing that is they will actually like flash their skin, and like you'll see these kind of like waves of color like going down the cuttlefish, and the thought is that actually that is specifically designed to kind of confuse prey about what they are and their emotion so that they can get close to it. Um, and they will also make different patterns, it seems to communicate with other cuttlefish. So like Ruby was mentioning this thing about how cuttlefish can see the polarization of light. There's some evidence that they can also modulate like the polarization of light that they reflect. And so there's one of the hypotheses about this is that this evolved as like a secret communication channel for cuttlefish. Um, but yeah, one of the things I was looking at was, I will pull it up here, like the way that this works, which is actually like a lot simpler than I thought it was. So basically, here we go. So the cuttlefish just have, or actually all cephalopods have these dots in their skin, dots of pigment. And then you can see on this microscope image that there's these kind of strands around them and they're muscle fibers. And so basically they're just muscles that can pull on the pigment strands and make them bigger or let them collapse back into smaller things. And so by doing that with different colors of pigment, you can rapidly change the color of the skin.
Oh,
So it
that is
looks like
so
this.
cool.
Um,
I
and
like
then, so
this
I guess
cutout.
this is just a cell that has a bunch of pigment granules in it. And then when these muscles fire, just it stretches the cell and then it makes the animal look more that color.
Oh, wow. Okay, so when it's more stretched, like certain
Mhm.
wavelengths would reflect more and others wouldn't. It would get
Right. I
absorbed
mean, it's
and you
not changing the properties of this pigment, but it's just changing like what percent of the skin is covered by these granules. So you can see when they're not stretched, they look like this. They're like super small. So
Oh.
most of the light is actually just reflecting from whatever is under these. But
Okay, this explains why all the dead octopuses are white.
uh-huh,
Because
yeah,
all
yeah,
the
yeah,
neurons are just like not firing anymore. So you get no color.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that makes so much
Um,
sense. Very
and
cool.
they One thing that, so one of the other things they mention about this, so typically those ones, they're called chromatophores, but there's really only red, yellow, or brown ones. So there's a lot of colors that you can't make with that. Um, but it seems like cuttlefish and other cephalopods also have these other cells called iridophores, which basically act as almost like diffraction grating. So like if you like have like a old CD-ROM and you look at it, it gets those kind of rainbow patterns.
Yeah.
Um, so they have these cells and they have that kind of optical patterning on it, and the cuttlefish can tilt those cells to kind of control what wavelengths it's reflecting back at.
That is so cool. Is it also controlled by like neurons, like their nervous
um,
system?
Apparently not. So apparently the iridophores are much slower. So because it says here, unlike chromatophores, it's dubious they're directly controlled by neural inputs because they respond much more slowly, and therefore might be controlled by neurohormones, a diffusible cue, or some sort of electrical signaling.
What? That I mean, that's still
Um,
really cool. I'm
yeah.
still kind of bamboozled that they so like one of their coolest skills is like they find a rock and then they like hide underneath it and then they become the
Hmm.
color of the rock. Like if you
Hmm.
can't see color and all you can see is like edges and shapes and polarized light, you can match the color of the rock so precisely that you do you know what I mean? Like they're so good
Yeah.
at it that like I mean
So this
our
is
yeah,
another thing that I was reading about in this article. So they were also asked about this. So they were saying like um so they were saying they were really asking this question like how does the cuttlefish know how to camouflage itself when like its eyes are not even really in a good spot for that. But they said that these researchers found detected opsin in the skin of cuttlefish that differs from the opsin found in the eyes by a single amino acid. So they're arguing that actually they're like the cuttlefish's skin is also capable of probably some pretty limited vision, but it can probably kind of tell like the color and luminance of whatever is directly underneath it.
that makes so much more sense than us. I mean, they already have a really distributed nervous system, like with the plexuses and
Right.
stuff.
Uh-huh.
It makes sense for the seeing to happen out in a
Yeah.
tentacle
Yeah.
to be like, yep, we just see what we're tasting to, like, and they could just match it locally.
Right.
That
Because
makes
like
so much more sense.
when you look at like a cuttlefish, it doesn't like the camouflaging doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because like its eyes are here, so it can't really see what it is on top of very well at all.
That's
Um,
true. Like where their bum or their head is where
uh-huh,
they're
yeah.
most
Yeah.
vulnerable. They need to match what's underneath their
Uh-huh.
taking the third eye to a whole new level.
The third
Yeah,
eye or third
their
to
whole
500th eye.
skin's organ is an eye.
But yeah,
Oh,
they use this for like a whole bunch of different stuff too. So I was reading this paper. Oh, this is not
yeah. Well, the other thing is I mean, okay, knowing where the eye is, I'm still confused which direction is the head sometimes.
uh
'Cause sometimes they go I think a bunch of tentacles. A bunch of cuttlefish would go
uh-huh.
tentacles first, and then I was just like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever direction you're going, that's the head, right?" But no, they're just going feet first.
Like
And like
no, so this is its head here. Like where the eyes are.
that's the head? Like, you wouldn't call, like,
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah.
entire mantle, like, that back part the head?
Like it's like most of its like nervous system and its beak is in here. So I guess I feel like it's like maybe the definition doesn't also work that well for these guys, but like I would consider this part to be its head. Um,
That's
and
fair,
it
that's fair. We
and it
cannot
is
really say
weird.
head and tail, right?
Yeah. I mean, also these guys are weird because so kind of their normal way of swimming is that they kind of ripple this like skirt like thing. It kind of ripples and that lets them swim tentacles first. And that's their normal way of swimming because that's where their eyes are, so they have to be able to see where they're going. But they also, like squids, they have a siphon where they can basically, if they're scared, they can jet propel themselves away from a threat, and that moves them that way. So
Yeah.
the siphon pushes them the other direction.
Yeah, I forgot to say, like, mollusks don't have a through gut. Like, I think that's another defining feature of
Mhm.
this part of the animal kingdom. Like, they don't have a butt, they just have a mouth, or they have a mouth butt. I guess I
Oh, I
would
didn't
say.
know that. So just they just vomit up the waste products, or
Yeah, so they do have an intestine in situation, but it's not a through gut, so, like, it just has to come back out
Mhm.
the same hole.
I see. Yeah.
The other thing with the siphon, which is kinda cool, and it's kind of cute, so if you ever seen an octopus in a, like a tank in a zoo or at the aquarium, they like to clean their tank with their siphon, and
Mhm.
so they kind of point
Yeah.
it point it at things,
Uh-huh.
and they'll, like, shoot things.
And then
And
they'll just like pressure clean it like
yeah, they'll pressure clean,
yep.
like, the tank and be like, "Mm, this is dirty," and they'll, like, pressure clean it. Or if they're, like it's nighttime and you have, like, this light that's hanging out overhead, and they're like, "I'm trying to sleep, this is annoying," they will shoot the lamp and
They'll just
short it
go and
out.
like put it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Uh,
yeah, they use their siphon like a
yeah.
little hose they can point and clean, and I think sometimes they use it to like disorient prey as well.
Mm-hmm.
Did you
Hmm.
read the paper where octopuses were like punching each other?
I did not know.
Okay,
What? Why were they
I was
punching each other?
just like to communicate with each other. So there's this I don't know if this is like a common idea, but I was trying to like categorize them as like octopuses are more like cats and like the squids and cuttlefishes are more like dogs in sociability. Like octopuses, like if you put two in a cage or into the same tank, like you'll end up with one really well-fed octopus.
Ooh. Uh-huh.
But where you put a bunch of squid together, they'll just kind of hang out and be like, "Yeah,
Uh-huh.
we are
It was like,
friends
hey
now."
guys, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
they're more chill. They're kind of they have like different behavior. Obviously, there's like species
Hmm.
differentiation, um, but the octopuses tend to be more like loners, and
More solitary. Yeah.
yeah, and so when they do interact with each other, they tend to be violent, like
So
just
they'll
like
punch each other.
yeah. No, I remember watching this because it was a neuroscience paper a couple years ago. Octopus punch. I was just like, I remember it was like a nature paper, and I was like, wow, like, okay. They punch fish to disorient them.
Hmm. Just to like hunt them.
Yeah. But they will also punch each other. Just fish punch to like to I guess like to knock them out a little bit, just to get them disoriented enough
Uh-huh.
so they can like grab them and eat them.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to find like a nice video of them. I found one of them punching fish. It kind of oh here, let me. I guess my ah, here is a punching octopus. If you scroll like halfway down, there's a video of them punching fish. It's really nice. They're really cute. Um,
Okay, octopi punching fish.
oh, I was reading this other thing that talked about how octopuses and all the squids and cephalopods likely developed their version of intelligence because of evolutionary pressure, because they were sharing space with invertebrates who were much better at navigate. Like like in the ocean, like there's way more vertebrates than there are invertebrates, and
Hmm.
so the evolutionary pressure to like adapt and become really flexible and really good at surviving in this environment with a lot of vertebrates made made them have to become like intelligent
They had to
in
gain
their
that
own
like
way.
that behavioral flexibility.
Yeah, they had to. That was their niche. Like it was like pushing them to become more and more intelligent. So it
Huh.
was
Uh-huh.
yeah, it was kind of like you know
That makes sense. Yeah.
the result of the
Hmm.
pressures of the environment. Also, they have also squids have taught us so much about neuroscience. Like
Uh-huh.
the
Yep.
giant squid axon is the source of all many of the original studies that basically taught us how neurons work, like how action potentials
I
work, how like sodium channels do their things like cable theory, like all of that is grounded in like Hodgson Huxley classic studies where they're like out on a boat and they got a
yeah.
squid and they're like recording it on the side of the
I love how there's like these entire like paradigm shifts in neuroscience that happen just because like people like went to the ocean and found some strange creature and then like dragged it in. Like there actually is this weird like association between marine biology labs and neuroscience, and it was like literally just because they have lots of weird animals for the neuroscientists to study. Um,
yeah. I mean, the actual giant axon is used to do the little propulsion thing that the squirter,
mhm,
the jet
right.
squirter. It is the axon, the giant axon. It's like 1.5 millimeters, which is
Mhm.
huge for a neuron. Um, and that's like half a millimeter in diameter. So you could just literally put an electrode inside it and then like record as this giant axon is like firing. And you can change the solution it's in. You can like change the voltage. You can like step it. You can do a lot of cool classic experiments with
So it's
a
helpful
split
because this
axon.
is like a macroscopic axon.
Pretty much.
Like, yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
It was
Yeah.
huge, and our giant clumsy hands can shove things into it and record.
Which like
And
really makes sense because like with these experiments you have to be able to like put a sensor like inside the axon, right? So
yeah, and like the physics of cable theory is like how fast does this electrical component travel? And they literally was
mhm.
like, well, we're measuring this thing, and it's this long. We have electrode here, and it takes this much time.
And they're just like, let's time it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so therefore, like we base like all of like the equations that we use in neuroscience, like Nernst equation, like things like that, all came from these kinds of experiments, and all came from like a giant Humboldt squid, I think.
Mhm.
Um, and it
I was talking to a student about this and I realized there was some confusion and then they thought that this was like a normal sized axon from a giant squid, but it is in fact a giant axon from a normal sized squid. Uh,
yeah, it.
um,
I mean,
because there are giant squid, but that's not what we're talking about here. These are normal squid, giant axon. The evolutionary history of it is actually pretty interesting. So this is like Ruby mentioned, this is the axon that controls its like siphon that squirts water to make it like rapidly zip in a direction.
yeah,
And the reason
it
the
allows you
axon
to
is so
escape, right?
great, it's an escape system. And so making the axon really big means that impulses conduct down it really fast. So for the squid to be able to escape quickly, this axon has to be really big. And that's how we were able to figure out how axons work.
Yeah, and it's kind of separate from the way we make our axons work fast. So these axons are
Mhm.
unmyelinated. So it's just like straight up one giant cable. It's like bigger cable, faster faster electrical conductance. The way we make ours neurons go faster instead of making massive axons, which you can imagine would be a problem because there's not enough space, is we myelinate. We myelinate our axons, and then like the electricity will jump from node to node, and so that's how we speed it up, and that's why myelination is important. But like before we even knew about that, we were trying to figure out if electrical, like how conductance works in neurons. Like this was the original specimen they used, which is really cool.
So do cephalopods have no myelination?
I think this giant axon definitely doesn't, but let me check with the internet
Yeah.
before I tell the internet that. I Nope, I think they don't. They don't have any myelin sheaths.
Yeah, unmyelinated axons.
Yeah, which means their only way to get faster is to make a bigger and bigger axe. They just need to make it
That's like
literally make the cable bigger.
that's really like that makes their so like I mean we talked about this a little bit, but these are very intelligent invertebrates. They have intelligence that's kind of pretty much comparable to like rodents, which is actually really surprising for invertebrates. And that's even more impressive, I think, if they don't have myelination, because like we know like in mammals, like that is really important for making a brain that's efficient, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they went a completely different way, right? Like,
Yeah.
and but they had the same amount of time as us
Hmm.
evolutionarily to like get to
True.
this point,
Yeah.
right? So,
Mhm.
and they had the pressure, like we both had the same evolutionary pressures to be flexible and stuff. They also had this pressure to be flexible, and so this is the I truly believe that if they were not made of a material that would die every 3 years, like they could probably beat us.
Like that they would have like a civilization that was like fighting with us.
Yeah, or they could,
Uh-huh.
they will be our overlords. It's so
Uh-huh.
so the majority of cephalopods, I think the longest they live is around like 3 to 5 years, because
Uh-huh.
they're very soft and gooey, and they're food. They're food for a
Uh-huh.
lot of things in the ocean. Um, I mean, that's and their life
Yeah.
cycle is short. So I mean, it also is nice because it means they can reproduce. They have a strategy where they reproduce a lot, and so they're not all of. I would say besides the nautilusks and like some of the really huge giant ones that we rarely see, I would. It's hard to count how many there are in the ocean, but
Uh-huh.
like I think the populations are doing okay. Like
Yeah,
they're
I know there's tons of cuttlefish. Like they're not endangered at all. Um,
yeah, like we're not too
we're
worried in particular about them, not all of them becoming
yeah.
extinct. That being said, don't eat a nautilus.
Ribeye says I'd only want to tolerate barking at my poo for 2 years. Yep.
um
Also, a lot of them, like I know octopus, like a lot of their lifespan is also linked to their reproductive cycle. Like octopuses will lay eggs and then they will just like kind of stay there and guard their nest and then just like be actually they'll use their siphon to blow water over the eggs to keep them well oxygenated, but they will kind of stop eating and then they just like die.
oh, that's so sad. I was also gonna say they have kind of cool eyes, and actually like we talked about their vision, but we talked about their actual eyes. So
Uh-huh.
the different groups of cephalopods have different types of eyes. I
Mhm.
think the octopus have actual lenses. um the cuttlefish and the squid, I want to say they're different because of the shape of the pupils. Like cuttlefish have like a
Mhm.
W shaped pupil. Wait, let me
Mhm.
make sure I'm not like making this up. Cephalopod
No, they
pupils.
do.
And then I think the squids have like a square, like a horizontal pupil,
Mhm.
or a completely circular one. And um and the octopus actually have like a lens on theirs, and theirs is the horizontal way, I think. So they all have like really different shaped eyeballs, I think. Oh yeah, here's like a nice picture of the tentacles and eyeballs. Let me share it. It's just like I understand why octopus and squids are used as like in like lore as like the big bads in different parts
Mhm.
of the in all kinds of mythology. Like even like the giant
Like
squid.
because they're freaky looking.
Yeah, well, okay, so I also read that like the kraken, like people talked about how like these giant squids would like attack their boats, but I think a lot of them when they're close to dying, um they they're like filled with ammonia and then they like float.
Oh, so they were just like floating up. Yeah.
They were just floating up and they would get tangled in the oars and like boat parts and
Wow.
then it would look like.
Dramatic sailors. Like they're just like this squid is attacking us and they're just
And the
like it's
squid is like,
dead.
we're on our deathbeds. We're dying. Yeah, if you scroll down on this graphic,
Mhm. Oh, to the
it has like,
eyes.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can see like the different types of eyes they have,
Hmm.
which is kind of nice. So oops, what happened to it? Okay. Yeah,
Oh,
so
is
the
it not?
first. Yeah, yeah. The first one on the left is like the octopus eye, which is kind of like this horizontal slit. The one in
Hmm.
the next one is the Teluthiids, which is the squids. So the squids have
Hmm.
the perfect circular eyes. And then the next one is the
Cuttlefish.
Cepidae, which is the cuttlefish. And then finally the last one is the nautilusks. Like they all
No.
have different um like pupils and like different beaks.
Hmm.
Like the beaks look different too. And then there's like different kinds of tentacles. I think the nautilus have
Hmm.
the most interesting tentacles. They're like um
These ones. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Uh they're like little like hairs.
They have, yeah, so they instead of suckers, they use hairs to grab the thing.
Yeah. Really cool.
Neat.
What are the cool
Yeah.
animals? Yeah. Also, I don't know if you
Other
ever
cool
seen a
animals.
vampire octopus. Like I feel like that's a great place to end.
I have not. What's a vampire octopus?
Oh, okay. It's a sorry, it's not vampire octopus. It's a vampire squid.
Oh, I've
Um
heard of that, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me see if
does
I can
it like
find a
eat
nice
blood?
video.
Like,
I don't know why it is. I think it's just its color.
Ah.
It's separate from octopus and squid. It has its own like order, which is called vampire morphia. Morphia does. Um,
Yes, the vampire shaped things.
yeah, but they look so
Neat.
cool. Yeah, wait, hold on. If you find a video of them, let me see if I can find a video. They look
Cute.
no, so it can like trap a lot of water underneath their like skirt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and so they have like they don't have the full like the tentacles are kind of like webbed.
Mm-hmm.
Let me find a vampire squid. They look so cool. Vampire squid video. Images, videos. Yeah. So I oh no. Uh let's see if I can so I saw them for the first time when we were watching a deep sea actually here, I'm just gonna send this video over to
Sure. Yeah.
you. You can show it.
Play it.
I was watching a you know when they like do like deep sea something like robot floor walk with
Mm-hmm.
National
Yeah.
Geographic and they were like walking
Mm-hmm.
around some site and they're like, "What's that thing? What's that thing?" Do you see the link?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pulling it.
Yeah. And then like one of these guys showed up. Yeah, it looks like that. And then like wait till it opens up. Oh no,
Uh,
ad blockers.
Hang on, it'll fix it in a second. Second.
They look so cool. Go internet, go. Go computer, go. Look at that. So they
Oh
open up
wow.
and they become like a sail
Mm-hmm.
and then it just like collapses. Such a cool cephalopod.
Oh wow. It moves so neat. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really
Wow.
separate, like really special kind of um movement. Like I just like never thought about that. Like I just like it
Mm-hmm.
looks like something that someone imagined and
Yeah. Yeah.
put into like a
I can
book, you
kind
know?
of okay. I can kind of see why this could be considered vampire-y. Um. hmm.
Yeah, I want to know why it's called a vampire actually.
I love these captions. Just like, oh, it's a squid. Oh. Just so enthusiastic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was called the Rove. They captured it on the
Oh yeah,
Rove.
this is from this robotic vehicle that's under the water.
Yeah, and they like I think that's like the first time they encountered it, and it was like pretty recent too. Like I want to say, oh okay, never mind, that's a lie. It was like discovered in the
Okay,
1800s.
no, it's an octopus.
Yeah, but
Is it a
like
Dumbo or is it a vampire squid?
yeah, such a cool squid.
That's
Anyway,
really cool. Yeah, high
I
quality
hope
squid.
yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed our I guess like love session with mollusks today. We're like cephalopods are cool. Let's just read random things about cephalopods and share it with the audience.
Yeah,
Um,
I think they're cool.
I had a
Um,
really fun time. We should come back with mollusks on land.
yeah, yeah. Come back to our stream. It's snail month.
Maybe not back to back.
uh,
Maybe we'll take a
yeah,
break.
yeah, yeah. Just like at some other time. Yep.
Yeah, we'll talk about dating first.
Yeah, that is our stream for next week, is we're talking about like the science of dating and relationships.
Yeah,
Um,
I really want to see what data you can pull up, but
I was reading some really interesting papers actually. I found this paper where they like had people like just like rank the most effective ways to flirt. Um, and like and then also I mean, so I got into this because I was arguing with people on the internet. I ended up digging into this like old data set that OkCupid, which is a dating site, collected back in like 2010, and like everyone is like analyzing it wrong. And so like I really want to talk about that.
That is great. That's so cool.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. The next time when we talk about the mollusks, we can talk about like the chromosomes and like genetics
Yeah.
of them, which I think is actually also really quite interesting. Like the sex chromosomes for them are different. Like like they use a different like a completely different system to create sexes in the world of cephalopods and I think
For
other
the like sex
mollusks as well.
determination. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I think males are two of the same chromosome. They're like ZZs are males, and then one Zs are
Mhm.
females.
Huh.
Yeah, yeah. There's just I read a
Yeah.
whole paper on like the genetics and like how different cephalopods like decide or are the males and females in their of their species, but it's actually a little bit different depending on the species, and it's pretty complicated, and there's a lot of them. So it was just really cool to see like how diverse it was in this other species. Um,
Yeah, that sounds cool. Okay, so cephalopods part
yeah.
or
Plus, yeah, plus sex
at
chromosomes.
some point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Ribeye Bee
remind me
says
says
they want to hear
the
about sex
sex
chromosomes.
chromosome is a
We
cool
could,
topic. Yeah.
yeah, it's also cool in birds too. Maybe we'll just do like a sex
Mhm.
chromosome episode, and we'll just dive into
That would
like
be cool. Yeah.
yeah, like different ways different animals or across the kingdom have like decided to and not do sexual reproduction and then how
Yeah.
that's connected to sex chromosomes. That's actually
And it's an
a
interesting,
fun topic.
really interesting topic because, like, even in humans, we talk about like, okay, you have the sex chromosomes, and they determine your sex. But like, there's this whole question of like how does it do it? Like,
Yeah, and like and like this is the strategy for humans and some other
mhm,
creatures that are close to us, but like
mhm,
even like many fish like or like
mhm.
alligators or turtles, it's like what is the temperature right now, and then if it's the warm you're near the surface and it's warmer, like you become a female, and if it's colder you're a male. Like what?
Huh.
It's like temperature dependent, or if there's like a whole bunch of like a school of fish and then there's like not enough males, like some of the females are like we nominate you to become male and then that fish becomes male and inseminates the rest of the fish's eggs. Like that's the thing. Like there's different strategies in across the kingdom, and it's super fascinating. Mercury in retrograde. Yeah, animals are
Is it
cool.
currently in retrograde?
I don't know. um, yep,
According to Google, it is not in
it is not.
retrograde.
March
Yeah.
15th to 17th. Anyway, thank you for joining us. We're Philosophising.
Yeah.
We'll come back with a fun topic next week. Until next
Yeah.
time.